Hi, I'm Ashley Swartz, CEO and founder of Furious Minds, and I'm here for my weekly segment for Beat TV. Both Beat and I were fortunate enough to have participated in the Video Schmooze event this week in New York. It was a great event, and two of the highlights were the video monetization report that FreeWheel presented for Q3 2013, and Videology also presented some interesting data that they developed with Forrester. The report's going to come out in January, so we'll sort of get back to that in January. But I just wanted to, talk about the findings overall, and I'll go through some of the data and highlight it. At the end of the day, we've had this fear in the industry. The monetization was going to be an uphill battle, right? It was going to be a challenge that, people were viewing on demand and they were binge viewing because they didn't want to watch commercials. Sort of Netflix had created that example, right? And they were looking at new revenue streams and how to monetize that. And so some of it was sort of being given for free, and then they were having to look at that inventory as a make good. But at the end of the day, the overall theory or hypothesis of the industry was that the demise of television was going to be because of the internet, right? And I think that FreeWheel's report actually might show that there is some light at the end of the tunnel, which is pretty encouraging. The other thing that's been very interesting is, we've heard a lot about how a lot of agencies on the buying side are converging and pulling their video practices into sort of one. So digital video is merging into television. There's been a little bit of sticker shock, right? The TV buyers that are now buying digital video, when they start to use first third-party data sets, they buy against Nielsen target audiences, etc. They're seeing that CPMs are higher than television, and there's kind of a bit of a shock and awe there that we're trying to reconcile as an industry and really allow for the ubiquitous, holistic buying of video cross-screen. So, just some highlights from the FreeWheel report, which is pretty amazing actually, is that long-form content is what's winning, right? It's up 56% year over year. So people are binge viewing, they're watching on demand. That's very obvious, right? But ad views are up as well. And actually ad views are up more than video views are up, which is incredible for the industry. They're 1-to-1 right now, right? So ad views in mobile alone are up 235% year over year. So we're sort of comparing for 2012 to Q3 2013, just for reference, all of these data points. And the tablet's up 365% year over year. And the tablet is actually what seems to be driving a lot of this long form consumption, right? It's a lean back experience, and the tablet's actually being used more and more for long form content. The browser still dominates sort of 86% of ad views though, however, and I think it's just because it's much easier to track, it's much easier to deliver. I think that the player ecosystem and the ad serving ecosystem is more mature on the browser, so we do see higher monetization levers. Authenticated viewing, this is important, right? This is TV everywhere. This is the mobile and browser-based authenticated environments that programmers and MVPDs are offering, is up 3 times year over year, right? It's up from 5% last year to 14% in Q3 2013. And the reality is that ad loads are increasing as well. They're up 30%. So people are watching more long-form content, which naturally results in a greater ad load, and there are more ads to actually be accompanied around a piece of content. And we just define long-form as 20 plus minutes, right? And the reality is that what it's resulted in Q3 2013 is we've got a 1-to-1 ad views to a video view, right? And that's a 31% growth sort of overall year to year in ad views. We're also seeing that 30-second creative, so longer form creative, is about 65% of the ads that are running in this in the long form episodic content. And that's actually great to hear, because one of the things we were hearing from advertisers and buyers was that they were frustrated because in premium video there wasn't enough sort of long form units to actually be able to buy, and they wanted more longer form content avails. And the reality is that long form ad completion is at the highest it's ever been. So what's the key takeaway? Well, I talk a lot about audiences sort of changing faster than we are, catching up with the behavior, et cetera. But the reality is that what this has shown, specifically with TV Everywhere, is we give the audiences what they want, and they're happy to help us make money doing it, right? This is TV everywhere. So the audiences are very happy to accept the norms of television, watch long-form 30-second spots, full ad pod loads, etc. And I think that, the idea is that the extended value proposition of television, and that's changing. And as programmers and operators are on board, audiences will be much more receptive to absorbing and participating in advertising as part of the ecosystem and the experience of TV as it extends beyond the 10-foot experience. Long form's the big winner, right? I mean, this is what's driving it. It's driving the actual economics of online video right now for programmers, right? This is where they're going to recoup their investment. And the big insight for me is that if audiences think it's TV, they'll act and behave like TV. And I think what's really important is that, Netflix has sort of been incredibly, it's been the big gorilla in the industry, and everyone's been quite scared because they're actually greenlighting their own content. It's ad-free, et cetera, but it's a subscription model, and programmers really don't have that runway given the sort of norms of cable and television. But the reality is that there is runway here. Data allows for higher CPMs and premiums in internet-enabled television environments. It's just that we have to embrace technology and actually understand that the evolution of television is as much about storytelling as it is about technology and the internet. And we have to embrace that holistically as an industry and work together side by side. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks.